Good evening and welcome to OACETT's Durham chapter, Durham Region chapters, CTech and CET panel discussion. I'm really pleased to have you here. I'm hoping that you guys are going to learn a lot from us today. And we have a very wonderful panel of professionals that are going to be helping you understand, why it's probably a good idea to get licensed, get certified, and how it may have impacted their career. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We will first have a land acknowledgement, and then we will recognize our partners, and then I will introduce the panelists, and then we'll actually get into our panel discussion. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to now basically let's have our land acknowledgement now. So OACETT Durham Region Chapter is proud to recognize the rich history of this province and region. We are pleased to acknowledge that we are on the traditional treaty territory of the Mississaugas, which is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and the Métis people who make up the Oshawa and Durham Region Métis Council. We are also thankful for this opportunity to educate, work, grow on the lands of the peoples of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. I want to thank our partners as well. Thank you to everybody who has helped make this event and NEM possible. We definitely appreciate their support in making National Engineering Month an event that is fruitful and conducive to help professionals, young and also those in industry. So without further ado, I want to introduce our panel for today. First of all, I'd like to introduce you guys to Lorraine Chadwick. She is a CET, amongst other things. She's also a project coordinator, and she's in the Erosion Risk Management, Restoration and Infrastructure Group at the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, otherwise known as the TRCA, if you just to give you some lingo from industry. Our second panelist, his name is Alex Minato. He's a Ctech, and he is also a documentation and control system design expert at SetPoint Building Automation Incorporated. And our third panelist today is Bob Vandenberg. He is also a CET, and he's the managing director of, now let me make sure I get this right, Electronic. Did I get that right, Bob? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
So good, Sid.
So far, so good. Okay, so we also appreciate your attending. We appreciate all of our attendees. And so what I also wanted to say here is that one of you will be selected to receive a $100 Amazon gift card. So please wait to stick around till the end of the event to receive news on who won that draw. It's a random draw. Now, the way the format is today, the way I've got it set up is we've got about 3 different questions that will be addressed by all 3 panelists separately. And at the end of that, which maybe about 45 minutes or so from now, we have about half an hour or so where we're going to welcome questions from the audience, and hopefully we'll be able to address all the questions that are submitted. But what I would recommend is that you keep those questions written down, or you place them in the chat, and we will address them at the end. I would rather not stop our speakers. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to now allow for let's see here. Okay, so the first item that I wanted the panelists to discuss is an introduction as to who you are and what you do. How did you end up here? Going back maybe to your college or high school days, what led you down this path, and how has OSET membership and certification helped? So for that, I'm going to ask my first panelist, Lorraine, if you'd like to address those questions. Okay, you're going to have to unmute, Lorraine. Okay, there you go.
Oh, there we go. I was gonna say it won't let me for a second there. Sorry about that, guys. See, technical issues right at their best, right off the start. So yes, my name is Lorraine Chadwick, and I am currently a project coordinator with Toronto Region Conservation Authority, and I work in the erosion risk as a part of the erosion risk management team, and I work on valley erosion hazards portfolio. Now, what that means is I work on projects that address erosion hazards and slope instability that impact private and public property throughout the ravine system in the city of Toronto. And we do this by implementing different types of engineered structures, like the one you see in the photo behind me. This is a public park area within the city of Toronto on Mimico Creek, where riverine erosion was removing the bank, which was directly at the very bottom of a slope. And at the top of the slope was 4 private properties. And by eroding the bottom of that slope away, the slope had become very unstable, and what we call the long-term stable slope crest was actually going through the dwellings, through the homes, and that put them at great risk. So what we did was we engineered and installed a riprap vegetated buttress, which you can see along the bank of the river there. And what that does is that mitigates the water so that it can't continuously take away from the bottom of the slope. I'm not sure how many people on today remember the July 8th, 2013 severe weather event that went through the city of Toronto, but it was a devastating event. And it was the catalyst that prompted TRCA to extend assistance to private properties where homes are deemed at risk due to instability or erosion issues. So the goal is basically to provide cost-effective solutions, protect essential infrastructure such as dwellings and municipal assets like stormwater or sanitary issues like that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Lorraine. I'd like to now ask Alex to unmute himself first, and then perhaps tell us about himself and his path to where he is now.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so my name is Alex Minato, and my current role is a control systems designer and documentation extraordinaire for Setpoint Building Automation Incorporated in Vaughan. And a bit about my role is I guess I should start about Setpoint really. We're a reliable controls dealer for their suite of building controls hardware and software. So a bit about, if no one's familiar, what building controls is essentially computerized systems that go into buildings to control heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. So we essentially install them to tell when the heating to come on, when the cooling to come on, and we provide a turnkey solution for building owners and property owners for their buildings. So part of our suite of software is the ability to log in remotely from a computer or phone to monitor the temperatures in a president's office, let's say, or monitor the temperature and the status of exhaust fans. But part of what I do is basically design those systems. So I look at a variety of different mediums, including drawings, specifications, and the quote to see what sort of system we're installing, what are we working with in terms of the building, and what are we what's the end goal basically. And then I develop a series of spreadsheets and documentation for our site personnel to go and install that job. So in terms of documentation, I produce all that, write up the system so that when we install it, before we install it, we submit that to consultants for approvals. And then if we have any comments from consultants, they want stuff changed or they want equipment operating differently, then we take care of that. And I I look after all that work. So yeah, that's a bit about what I do, and yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Bob, over to you.
Sure, thank you very much. I said, as introduced, my name is Bob Vandenberg. I'm currently the managing director of a company called Mer Electronic Canada. As you may have noticed in the advertisement, we spell our electronics with K's, which is a real giveaway that we are a German company. And we're a wholly owned subsidiary of a company called Mer Electronic GmbH. It's a manufacturer of industrial automation components, basically for machinery. The idea behind this is we make machinery better. Kind of like BASF makes other things better, we make machinery better. You know, on the personal side, 59 years old, and I describe myself as a bit of a tech geek. I'm married, a couple of young men, because we used to say kids, but now they're in their 20s and finishing their college degrees. Well, they're young men. And I've had the honor to represent OSETT in a number of roles, you know, from as chapter chair, counselor, member of the executive board as vice president, and also as president, which I completed my term a few years ago. Now, one of the things that I truly believe in, at some point in life, we need to give a little bit back to society. And as my background's in sales, I'm going to reference a quote from a fellow great salesman known as Zig Ziglar. He really said it best. And he said, you know, you can get everything in life you want if you just help enough people get what they want. And my hope today is during the presentations by myself and the colleagues here, some of our insights, they're going to encourage you, if you're not currently in a career of applied science, electrical engineering technology, to consider that and understand really that learning is a lifelong event. And ultimately, like Zig stated, get everything that you can get everything in life you want, as long as you help enough other people get what they want. So I believe another one of the questions I asked us to answer is, how did you end up here? Did I actually go out and search for a company called Mer Electronic that I really had no idea who they were and say, I want to run this company? No, that's not what happened. There was no grand plan that led me to this position. I am truly the happy recipient of something called luck. And for those out there that don't know what luck is, you know, I define it. It truly is. It's a moment in time where opportunity and preparation meet. And no, I did not come up with that myself. I learned that from somebody else as part of my lifelong learning process. I've learned that without really truly being prepared for this opportunity when it did come up, that I certainly would not have been able to do that. And I've had, you know, in my 36 years, certainly in the workforce, and certainly 10 years, certainly high school, and that has really led me to this role. As I mentioned earlier, I am a bit of a tech geek. You know, I'm attracted a little bit to some of the latest in automation technology. I know some out there that have automation backgrounds probably as well. And you're probably like myself. You might be a fan of, you got interested in this stuff as a kid watching sci-fi shows. For my age, it certainly was my generation. It was Star Trek, Star Wars, and other shows that depict a future where we'll be exploring. And I really became interested in science, technology, math, physics, and immensely enjoyed shop classes in high school as well. And this led me to really applying and being accepted to a place, it's a university now called Ryerson. It was a polytechnic when I went to it, and yes, it was a long time ago, back in the 80s. And I graduated with a 3-year diploma in electrical engineering and technology. And how did I get into thinking about sales or something as a career choice? You know, really it came up during my 3rd year, as a lot of students do. You attend a career day event. And in my case, we did it in the student pub. Yeah, we did have a lot of fun, certainly back in the 80s. There were several presentations that caught my eye, and one was by a technical salesman. You know, he talked about the ability to use his knowledge and the education he learned in school, and he was a Ryerson graduate, and really to help people out. And the fact that, and what attracted him to that role was he wasn't sidelined to a desk every day. And this truly intrigued me because I did not want to be sidelined to a desk every day, and to consider it as an option. You know, my first 8 years or so out of school, I worked in electrical construction, going after projects, selling them, pricing, negotiating, and running the projects. It was an extremely interesting role. I worked for one of the largest multi-trade contractors in Canada. And for a young guy, the ability to travel, get paid for it, and even get a trip to Vegas, hey, it's not a bad life, all right? I said, where else can you find opportunities like that? Unfortunately, I found out construction does tend to be a bit cyclical, and I was forced to look for other opportunities. You know, technical sales, as I talked about earlier, really did intrigue me. And well, quite frankly, I need to make a career change because there wasn't a lot of opportunities in construction then. I took a lot of sales courses, technical courses at the community colleges, and also private institutions. And I ended up really with one of the largest privately held German manufacturers and another German company called Festel. And some might wonder, their primarily role was pneumatics. So how does an electrical guy end up selling air cylinders and valves, which is really their primary product? And it wasn't from my stellar resume. It had a number of spelling mistakes, and if you buy me a beer later on, I could probably help you, tell you a little bit more about that story. But specifically, and I was told this specifically, it was the last page of my resume. It was purely the fact I had invested in educating myself, and according to them and the person that hired me, it was the only reason they wanted to speak and eventually make me an offer. You know, I continued taking at least one course a year, pneumatics, office programs. I really didn't know a lot about them. It was Microsoft Office was just coming out. Yeah, I am that old. Electrical automation, sales, negotiation, whatever I could find, both in technical or soft skills that could make me a better person, allow me to have, you know, really truly in-depth conversations with clients, really determine their needs. And I spent 4 years there. I went out and I was looking for a professional designation. There was a couple of associations I looked to enroll with, and I chose OSETT. I chose it because one of them really, it was, if you pass this math test, well, you can get these 4 letters, put it at the end of your name, and you know, have at it, and no ethics, nothing, go for it, kid. And I didn't think that was really worth my time at the time. OSETT, you know, certainly through its peer review of your credentials, referrals, and being able to do a law and ethics exam to make sure you're ethically minded, really attracted me to that organization. And I applied and was fortunately accepted back in 2001.
Thank you, Bob. I really like what you said about being
Okay.
inspired by sci-fi because you know, right now we are just like Captain Picard negotiating with the Klingons, you know, through a screen, or Princess Leia sending a remote message. I mean, it's definitely a lot of the things that we saw in those TV shows, including tablets and cell phones. A lot of the things that we see, and now, you know, we're becoming an interstellar species, which we weren't back then, and we're planning bases on Mars and the Moon. So exciting stuff for our future generations. Okay, so the next item I wanted to cover was what advice or insights can you, as in the panelists, share with our audience, students and emerging young professionals, regarding their pursuit of certifications? Like why would you guys recommend it? You know, maybe just a very short statement or an explanation of why you would recommend it. Starting with Alex first. If you unmute yourself. It's in the bottom left corner, Alex.
Okay. So I think that should be, sorry, Sajad, could you repeat the question?
Sure. So what insights would you give our audience regarding pursuing the start of their career, including, you know, certifications?
Yep. So I guess, you know, OSETT through virtual or physical means, we'll probably give the students a presentation on certification. And if you really haven't thought about certification, I'd give it a look, or I'd give it a serious look at. I know when I was in college first time around in about 2014, I had a presentation by Oset, an Oset rep, and I ended up signing up that day after that presentation, because I was sitting in that presentation thinking, right now it might not assist me, but later down the road, obtaining certification and getting, allowing my network to grow, OACETT's a perfect organization to allow that to happen. And I guess part of the buy-in from OACETT's end is, it allows you to network and give back to the profession. And this is exactly why we're sitting, in front of you virtually today, is to tell you that, or not just tell you, but give you some insight into why, we're sitting here and sort of our experience of joining OSET. Now, it'll be about 7 years for me of being, part of the organization, and the last probably 4 or 5 years, I've really invested my time volunteer-wise and through certification. Now, it's been really valuable to me as it's allowed me to grow my network. So that's a big part of that coming out of school is being able to stand apart from your colleagues and peers. Maybe you have other skills and other credentials or certifications that allow you, but more and more jobs and more companies nowadays are looking for that OSET certification, whether CTech or CET. But I strongly encourage somebody to take a look at certifying, as a lot of what through school and through your summer jobs count towards certification. So yeah, that's, I guess, some of the insights that I can give as somebody recently certified and recently within the last 4 or 5 years graduating school. So I was once in your shoes and evaluating, should I join, should I not? It's pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I'd like to put the same question to Bob, but I know you touched upon it earlier, but maybe if you want to reiterate.
Yeah, no. So really, the question I understand is, how does OSET membership and certification help to? And there was an assumption that it did, and I can certainly say in my case, certainly it absolutely did. I talked earlier that I did look at OSET as an organization, and I've been fortunate enough to be a volunteer within the organization since 2003. So I became a member in 2001. I'm a late applier. Unfortunately, I did not get an OSET representative coming into the school back in the 80s when we were graduating. So I didn't really find out about OSET. I found out about it actually through one of my customers, who happened to be Durham College at the time when I was at Festo and selling training equipment to them. And I talked a little bit about why OSET. And if you look at the certification and the members, I guess a couple of real interesting points here. One point is, in times that are a little bit challenging, like last year, OSET typically gets a lot of fines from a lot of people that are actually using our designations that are not members, which is really interesting in itself. And also they get a lot greater uptick, certainly in membership. So it has to be a market reason for this. And the market reason is, people are looking for credentials. Employers are looking for credentials and they don't have time really to go after and do a deep dive on who you are, what you do. Having a certified credential where somebody else has provided that And they've done that work where OSET has, where they've actually looked at your education. They've gotten some references to know you're an ethical person and a good character, and to know that you've actually passed the exams, that you will operate ethically, you have an understanding of our code of ethics is really important. As an employer, and I hire people, I can talk a little bit about it. I do prefer to look for people with designations, especially with the CET designation. One of my greatest thrills when I had my term of president, one of our employees at the time who got her CET, and I actually had the opportunity to sign her CET certificate. I went down to the office. I was so thrilled when she got it. I actually bought her a frame. We framed it and put it up in the office for her, and she still has it. While she's working for a subsidiary in the U.S., she still has that to this day and uses the designation CET. And in her case, it actually allowed her to travel to the U.S. and become employed and get a TN and get a visa to be able to work without any issues as a CET. It does allow you to be able to do that. So professionally, there's some really interesting aspects to it. From an industry side, industry really is looking at designations. And if you look at our salary surveys, people with the designations tend to make more money. So if you're maybe a little personal and greedy, if you have the designations, you're probably going to make a little bit more money. Now, does it automatically mean I get the designations, I make more money? Not in all cases. But if take a look at it and think about it. Somebody who's done the work, filled out the forms, done the references, did the technical report, passed a law and ethics exam, they've made some investments into their career. And truly, that's a person that's a superior person in my mind over somebody that just said, well, I want a job. We start at 9, great. We leave at 5, great. Oh, okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. So if you're really looking for a career and not just a job, I would really encourage you, if you don't have your designation now, go get it. One, industry is recognizing it more and more. And certainly on the municipal side, it's a requirement for some jobs and some things. And two, there's some freedom to be able to travel and actually work in the US as well. So I think there's some really strong things. And then when I look at my volunteer side with OSET, really the opportunity to volunteer, and I would strongly encourage you to think about volunteering either at the chapter or running for an elected position when they become available. It's a great opportunity. I never would have participated in a NEM event. I probably wouldn't have never known what NEM was unless I joined OSET, quite frankly. It wasn't something that was at the top of my radar. Sorry, NEM. And meet people across Canada and really around the world that I would never have had the chance to do that, certainly as serving as president of the association. So I'd strongly encourage you, consider joining OSET. If you're not currently a member, getting your certifications, and more importantly, volunteering, because it's our association. And the only way it's going to be successful is we engage it and we operate it, because it is a member-driven association.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Lorraine, your insights, your valuable insights. You're going to have to unmute yourself. If you go to the bottom left-hand corner. Oh, there
Sorry
you go.
about that, guys. It keeps giving me a message that the host won't let me unmute, so we're going to blame Sajad here. So for me, when I prior to working at TRCA, I was in the automotive industry, which is, as you know, very heavy in technology and engineering platforms. And I was very held back in moving forward in that career because I didn't have any kind of certifications. I went into automotive right out of school, and I didn't bother getting any of those letters after my name because I was young and thought that, in the long run, they weren't really necessary. But they are necessary because they show that you are held to a professional standard above other people, that like Bob said, you adhere to a set of ethics, that you understand that you are a professional. So it is very beneficial to have done, and I was very fortunate that when I went back to school, when I went back to college, the OACETT program was actually part of Seneca College's diploma that I was enrolled in. So I was very fortunate that I got to do everything through school, all the exams, all the studying, everything. So it was part and parcel when I came out of school that I had that neat little 3-letter designation after my name to utilize. And it's very beneficial. It has been at TRCA. When I first started, I was in the survey and drafting team, and I moved into what was then known as engineering projects, which is now the erosion risk management team. That CET designation that helped me with that lateral move, and it helped me move into the project coordinator position that I'm in now. And many of the postings you see in the Conservation Authority throughout Ontario, CET or some form of designation through OACETT is either a prerequisite or it's highly recommended that you have it. It will put you above other applicants for those sought after positions, which can be very limited.
Sure, sure. And I'd also like to add that, you know, when you have certification, it means somebody vouched for you or somebody vouched for your work.
Exactly.
And also, yeah, that you passed an ethics exam. So at least you know you have some ethics, at least in theory. Okay, all right. So for the final round of comments or question, the final question that I have before we get into the questions from the audience, I'd like to ask all of you, how has the pandemic changed things for you and your workplace? So for that, I'm going to ask Bob to go first.
Sure, thank you. Uh, how has it changed the workplace? Well, I could turn the camera around. I could show you a pile of empty desks here in the office. 2020 truly was a year like no other, and hopefully will never be repeated again in my lifetime, at least. It really was the year that we truly went virtual as a company. We're fortunate. We talk about technology, and you know, we're in a newer facility. We've been in this building now for about a year and a half. When we invested in it, we actually went to an internet-based phone system that allowed all the employees to take their phone home, plug it into the internet. Even though you call our number, you dial their extension, you think you're speaking to them in the office. No, you're actually speaking to them at home. So we went totally virtual with the office, both on the sales side and certainly on the inside, the support side of the office, technical accounting. The only people that are here, well, I happen to be here in the office today because there's a few things I need to sort out. There's some people in the warehouse, and we have an office manager, and that's it. The biggest challenge, I think, on the sales side, when I look at that, really was how, you know, salespeople are personable people, and they like to be face to face, and it's, you know, they call it belly to belly, and face to face. And that which is really important. So now we're computer screen to computer screen, which really was a bit of a challenge for a lot of people to come over. And how do you get those emotions and get that thing, you know, by turning on the camera and talking with people, and even we engage with customers as well. One of the things, because a lot of them are working from home, they get really impressed when somebody actually calls them. That's a video conference with them, because in some cases we're the only contact they might have had that day. So we found it a little bit easier sometimes to get in touch with customers as well, where they might have been hesitant. But you know, we look at it, to sum it up, it's a virtual world. We're doing everything as virtually as much as we can right now. From a business point, we did not do any layoffs. We did not do any salary staff reductions at all, or any what they call short work. We were able to fight through that, and that was really the support of our team, behind the team that's behind me, really, that runs this place. I just kind of stand around and, you know, sign checks. And I would say and that's really, and that would be my answer to how COVID has affected us.
Okay, so I'd like to ask Lorraine to respond to that.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I've actually worked from home now over a year as of March 17th. But thanks to the technology and the different platforms, I meet with my stakeholders and my team, my project manager, and my environmental technician. We meet more than once a day using video conferencing or just Microsoft Teams. We've had to adjust some of the on-site visits to our project sites and be mindful of recommendations from the city and the province. But all in all, for my team anyways, we haven't had any major setbacks because of COVID, other than maybe some delays in some of our permitting processes because they take a little longer with everybody working from home. Sometimes things that would normally take a couple of months can now take, 4 or 5 months to get completed. For me, the only project I had in construction when COVID showed up was well into construction when it happened. So nothing for me has fallen behind since last March. Thank goodness we have the digital sci-fi abilities that we do have now. I can't imagine if COVID had hit 20, 30 years ago, the way it has now, it would have been, I think, much more crippling than it has been for this year. And looks like maybe some of 2021 is going to follow that same pattern.
Sure, sure. Okay, all right. So I'd like to ask Alex to comment on how it might have changed his workplace. I'm going to ask to unmute.
Yeah, like Lorraine and Bob have mentioned. I'm currently working from home in my role, but to my knowledge, we haven't had any staff reductions or layoffs, so to speak. I know during the first initial lockdown last March, we had a couple people off, but that was just due to close projects and really assessing, what is this going to look like for that year going forward. But for me personally, I've gone all digital. We've gone all digital, as sort of I don't want to say cutting edge, but sort of a technology company in construction. A lot of our systems are digitally based. So if I need to log into a building, that's in downtown Toronto per se, I'm on the company VPN, and I can do that sort of stuff as if I was in the office. We've all got mobile phones, and so if I have anything that I need from my colleagues, then I just give them a call, or we meet on Teams or something to that effect. But on the business side, I can't really comment much. But in terms of my role, 2020 is and will be 2020. We'll all remember that. But what I think of that, or looking back, I think of pivoting basically is that buzzword, and being able to pivot or move and change directions is imperative in your career, whether you're going for certification or whether you're going for a career change. But being able to move and adapt and learn and grow from that change will provide you with the tools to succeed in the future. So and as we're all talking about COVID in 2020 and how that year has affected us, just keep that in mind. Being able to go through that year and experience, whether you're in school or working, that's a prime example of pivoting and growing in uncertainty. So yeah, just a few.
Excellent, excellent. So I just wanted to point out that I'm not an expert on the matter, but I have read up on when I taught at Seneca College in their liberal studies program about pandemics. When we started to understand that pandemics are caused by microorganisms, Charlemagne and Harun al-Rashid came together to start hospitals with quarantines back in the 8th and 9th centuries in the Middle East and Europe. And also, if you look at the 13 or 1400s, the big pandemic, then they say that it helped spur on the Enlightenment. They say about the pandemic of the 1800s, 1820, I think, it helped spur the industrial age. And of course, the 1920s, the suffragettes and having women come into the workforce was helped, of course. And of course, the roaring 20s followed that when people survived the Spanish flu. So I'm anticipating that global changes are going to follow here as well, because we've seen that in terms of our changes in how the workplace behaves and technologies implemented. So anyways, enough from me. I do want to now ask audience to consider questions. I've got one queued up, but before I start taking questions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a question and randomly just ask one of the panelists to answer. What I'd like to do first is, if you guys could please, now that you've attended the main part of the event, we'd like to know what you think. So I'm going to launch a poll, okay? And you should see the question come up. It's one question. I believe it's one question, and it's a multiple choice, okay? So while you're considering the question, please answer the poll. It's been launched. And so hopefully it won't take you guys too long to answer, because we do want to know what you think. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to see, oh, we've got one question lined up. Oh, we've got two questions lined up. Okay, all right. Okay, so we'll just give another minute or so for everybody to respond to our poll. Okay, so we've got about, it looks like everybody's voted that would have voted. So thank you for that. All right. Okay, so I am now going to put forward the first question to Alex. And the question is, please provide two key questions I can ask my contacts in order to help me, as in the person who's asking the question, determine who to pick as a professional reference for the CET or CTech certification. So a couple of questions to ask, into determining who's going to be the reference. Alex, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yeah, so I mean, I recently went through this myself, so I basically I penned up an email to a couple of my former work references, and I said, I'm looking at pursuing certification. Would you vouch for me, basically? And basically I'd ask, I've been here, X number of time, whether it's a couple of months or years. The longer you have at an organization, they're more, your managers and your management is more likely to know your work ethic and likely to vouch for you. But just with that being said, just the thought of or presenting that to your employer will sort of, I don't want to use the term raise eyebrows, but will indicate to them that you're already attempting to stand out from your fellow colleagues who don't have certification by pursuing this. So, I'd pen up a letter and then get, a member of your family or somebody you confide in to review it and say, am I hitting the points? And then, like I did, I sent them off an email, and, within an hour I got, yeah, sure, just send me what you need, basically. And, off the resume and job description went, along with, my other things. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know if that completely answers the question, but, I'd be happy to ask, or I'd be happy to talk to whoever that was, to further discuss.
Sure. So the person who asked the question direct messaged me, so I'll keep their identity. But if that question wasn't answered, or if you have a follow-up,
Yep.
so just let me know. The next question, which I'm going to send over to Bob, is, what is required to be eligible to be an OACETT member? So the person asking, Bob, this person is an EIT, an engineering training at the University of Windsor, and she, like I, is interested in joining OACETT. I was a PGO, but I still thought that the CET was just as valuable, if not more, in certain situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I'm going to assume that you're engineering in training, you've actually graduated from the University of Windsor. So it's a copy of your certified transcript. Marks from the university would be required, proof of citizenship or PR or whatever, to make sure you're legally entitled to work in Canada. A couple of references and apply. And you can actually, the easiest way now, it was so much easier when I did it back in 2001. You had to actually drive there, bring them hard copies, show up. There was no internet and stuff that people used back and forth then. And now it's done totally online. So it's an opportunity. I would encourage you really to go to OSET.org, and you can start the application process right online there, and they'll walk you through it. Generally, for somebody that's completed a 4-year degree program, a technical report generally is not required, but that's done. The registration department will confirm that with you. And then so your requirement then would be write a law and ethics exam, and then 2 years. And the neat thing, we do have a lot of members as well that have both the CET and maybe have gotten it first and then got their PN second, or we've got some that have got their PN first and they said, well, we'd really like to have the CET as well and got their CET second. So for people that are members of other associations like Professional Engineers in Ontario, we do offer a rate reduction as well. So and that's spelled out, I believe it's about a third. It's somewhere around a third or 2/3 of the standard rate for the members, because you're a member in both organizations. So yeah, I would strongly encourage you to do that. And the neat thing, when you look at we also have benefits as well attached to our program that might be attractive to you as well. Well, it's not the reason to join. It's certainly a bit of a sweetening of the cake. And certainly there are some infinity programs like the home insurance, car insurance that might be attractive to you as well. That can offset the cost of the membership.
For sure, for sure. So the next question is actually specifically for Lorraine. Lorraine, you've got a bit of fandom here. So here's the question. In the field of environmental project management, what benefits do you find the CET designation has offered compared to other professional certifications? And why would you recommend it specifically? So I'm going to ask you to unmute. If you need me to repeat the question, let me know.
Yeah, could you repeat that one more time for me,
Sure.
please?
What benefits, so in the field of environmental project management, what benefits do you find a CET designation has offered compared to other professional certifications? So why would you recommend a CET in your field specifically?
For me, CET is speaks to your ethics. I deal a lot with different levels of stakeholders, from private landowners. We deal with Indigenous communities, municipal partners, and it's very important for my own personal experience in dealing with my landowners, that they know that I am held to a certain standard, that I do have ethics when discussing their property. For a lot of these people, their property is their investment. This is their life's work. This is everything they have, and they have put everything into it. And it's very hard when you're dealing with a stabilization solution or an erosion control on their property, and they need to know that you're being honest with them, that you're held to a level that they understand. You're not trying to quote unquote cheat them or take from them or not be fair. So I think it's very important.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that, Lorraine. I have another question, which I'm going to, ask Alex to answer. It's a great question, by the way. So what would you, I guess, our panelists, recommend for someone pursuing their CET but is struggling to put together a topic for the report? So how do you determine a topic for the report, Alex? So I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of upgrading my certification over the next couple of months. But from my knowledge, and maybe Bob can back this up, but I'm actually going to use my 3rd-year capstone project report as that tech report. But going through the process a couple of months ago, I talked to Audrey, who's a member on staff, and I was going through that process, And if you're looking to use your third year capstone project report as that tech report from your studies, you have to write a proposal, sort of outlining what the report is, who are the members involved, because typically you'd work with a group for that, and then assigning assigning the work that each member did, contributing to that project and thus the report. So I think I'm right. I think I'm correct. Am I not, Bob? Maybe you can expand.
Yeah, I don't mind. Sure. I can add a little bit of context to that. The technical report is really for somebody, a technologist. If you look at the ministry, their guidelines, there has to be a design function. So the difference between a technologist to repair and analyze, and then technician is to repair and analyze. A technologist there's a design function. It's the ability to be able to design. So the tech report is to be able to show competence in that. And there is a possibility that you may be able to use the capstone report from your college program in the second or third year that you graduated. And that might possibly, it generally has to be, in most cases, it has to be rewritten a little bit to follow the format of an Oset, of a formal technical report, because some of them aren't actually formal technical reports on the capstone side. So I would encourage you to do that. If you're interested in topics, I know at one time they did, now they've just updated the website, so there might be some challenges with it, but they did have sample reports or sample topics at one time, certainly on the Oset website. Certainly was available there as well. And then, as Alex did, really do ask the member, ask the association, ask the registration board. They're more than willing to help in any way they can. Obviously, they can't write the technical report for you, but they're certainly willing to help out, provide you ideas on topics. And then if your proposal, even if it's not accepted the first time around, they'll generally give you some ideas and try to help you out to say, okay, you need to think about this, this, and this. If you want to use this topic as a technical report, really to look at, did you do, are you operating, is there some math in the math and sciences behind it? Which sometimes is not there with the capstone reports. And are we displaying technology and in-depth knowledge of the technology you're trying to explain on a first principles basis? The other option is, I said, if you graduate from, and I guess a college like CET, most of their programs are certified, so a technical report is not required at some of the colleges, and certainly a lot of the colleges are getting their programs certified by Technical Accreditations Canada, which eliminates the need for you to have to do a tech report to get your CET, because the college, they train to that level, and their capstone program follows those elements that are required in a technical report, which some colleges might not be.
Right. I was just going to say that we tend to give them at least a few reports during their last year, third year, at Centennial College, that TAC, the people who audit our program, they have said they do meet the requirements. In general, they meet most of the requirements. And so that was something that I also wanted to say. And usually as a professor, I actually support the students by giving them topics or suggesting topics as well, depending on their program or the focus of the program. Some like to work on landfill, some want to work in policy research, and some, they just want to be future consultants. So it depends on what they want to do. Lorraine, if you wanted to add to that, you're welcome to do so. Currently, we don't have any more questions. So I'm going to ask you to unmute just in case you had anything to add.
I was very fortunate. My report I was able to do while I was in college, and I had been working at TRCA as a summer co-op student. So I was able to utilize one of the projects that came about as a result of the July 2013 storm. My only advice would be to make sure you're specific. Don't pick a general topic. You want to be able to sort of zone in on either a specific site or a specific item. You want to be as concise as you can. And sometimes if you pick something very general, it's hard to be concise.
Thank you, Lorraine. So I got this question here Does Durham College Mechanical Engineering Technology fall under the approved status for the 3-year program bypass the technical report? So I'm not at Durham College, but from what I know of it and similar colleges, I'm pretty sure that I can be safe in assuming yes. If you guys have any insight, you're welcome to share.
Yeah, I think you can go on, you can look generally TAC, if you go to
TAC.
Technology Accreditations Canada, they'll show you. The other thing you can ask, certainly at the, OSET will have a list as well of who's an accredited college as well, so they know who it is. So you can always ask them, and that's something to do. And I just wanted to, I can go back to the first question you asked me, the lady who's the engineer in training, and she's a student, I guess, I believe still,
Yes.
if I look at the question correctly. So I'd encourage her to apply as a student and try that. It's, first of all, it's a lot less money, and they waive a whole pile of fees for you, and you get the full benefits of being a full member right up front as an associate student member. And the neat thing, when you graduate for 2 years, I think it's 1 or 2 years afterwards still, you'll still pay the student fee for a couple of years after. And my memory serves me correctly, it's somewhere around $58. We consider it to be a good case of beer, not a cheap case of beer, I guess is the way it was been sold to some of the students. I've attended the college presentations. Okay, so Alex agrees with that. Okay, and so it's really it's an affordable membership, and it's got a lot of great benefits and the opportunity to network right out of the bank, right out of the start.
Yeah, speaking of the University of Windsor and what you talked about earlier, Bob, I remember in the 90s, networking meant pub night or pub crawls because that's where everybody went. But that being said, being a practicing Muslim, I always looked for that halal brew, 0% alcohol. And I was very popular. I was always the designated driver. I couldn't figure it out. Then I realized, oh, I'm not drinking. So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we don't seem to have any additional questions right now. I do want to announce the winner of our raffle. But before I do that, I want to thank everybody who attended the event. I also want to really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, thank Lorraine, Bob, and Alex. I think this was amazing. I mean, I always love listening to you guys talk because I know you guys outside of this. And I want to thank NEM for allowing us to host this and giving us a platform and reaching out to young people. And of course, thank you to the OACETT Durham Region Chapter Executive Committee for all the work they did. Also, my co-host, Amanda Huckster, thank you very much. She was helping behind the scenes. So a big round of applause to everybody. Thank you for everybody who stuck around. It seemed like we had pretty good attendance. I appreciate that. Don't be shy to follow up through the NEM organization. If you have follow-up questions, I don't mind answering later on as well. Okay. I am definitely not a person who shies away from wanting to connect with people. Some of you already are sending out connections, so I appreciate that. And the winner of our draw, let's see, hopefully I will pronounce the name correctly, is Maha Aliyah. So Maha Aliyah, you are the winner, and I'll be reaching out to you via email in the coming days. So well done, Maha. Thank you for attending, and congratulations on winning the $100 Amazon gift card, which we're going to deliver to you electronically. Okay, all right. So thank you so much to everybody. Thank you again to NEM. I guess, I think we're done. I'm really happy that this went so well.
Mm-hmm.